Good evening, ladies. How are you doing tonight? It is Thursday. It is the first Thursday of the month. So that means it is our card class. Okay, and I didn't grab everything I needed. Go figure. Okay, I just have to grab acorn ink. Okay, I will give you a moment to get on, and then we're gonna get started. When you join in, please say that you're here so that I know somebody is with me. I know Doris won't be on tonight. She is doing something family tonight. Not quite sure who else will be. Hi, Mary Lynn. How are you? Patty's here. Excellent. I'm going to grab one more thing before we start. I needed my cloth because we have a little inking we need to do. Okay, we are going to get started tonight. So our first card in your pile is actually our most complicated card. And after that, the rest of them are easy peasy. So we are going to start with this one. This is called the Tuck and Reveal card. Now, I did teach this on Sunday, well, really Monday, for Sunday Fun Day. So look for last Wednesday's post, and it actually gives you all of your cutting. So anything that you need to cut for this card, you have all your measurements right there on last Wednesday's post, okay? And so this is what it looks like. And it's really not a hard card to make. So I'm gonna set our sample there. And in your pile, you are going to have two cute little brackets that have been stamped. One says hooray, one says happy birthday. You are going to have a center of the sunflower. You will have a sunflower. You are going to have two leaves. You're going to have another bracket that is cut using silver foil paper. You should have three little dots. Then you will have a 1/2-inch strip. You will have a, 1 3/4 by 1 3/4 square piece. You will have a 1 1/2, two of those. So when we go to put this on the card, I think I cut them so that they would line up in the center. So just kind of be careful with that. And then you're going to have two more pieces that are 1 1/4 inch tall, and those also should line up. Then we will have a white piece that has the scoring, and we will go over all of those as we build the card. So you'll have one that has a score line, you're going to have another one with a score line, and then a nice large one with a score line. What we're going to start with first, though, tonight is we are going to do a little bit of inking on our sunflower, okay? So that is the first thing that we're going to do. I pulled out acorn and a smaller blending tool, and I'm just going to go in a circle, and I'm just lightly going over. I'm going darker on the edge, but light on the inside. Just, this gives it a little more dimension. And I am using my silicone mat. Let me show you that. See how the center is much lighter then that exterior, and I think I might even go over it this way with more of a heavier hand, just so that we have the variant of color, so it looks more realistic. Okay, I'm going to set this aside to dry. Now I'm going to do kind of the same thing with my sunflower. I'm really only needing each of the petals. I don't really necessarily need the middle because that piece will go over this middle. So I'm going to just, wow, that was heavy. That was a heavy hand. So maybe if I hold it in my hand, it won't be so heavy. And I'm just kind of brushing this on. And with it going in the center, it's fine. It's all going to be covered up. And then I'll show you how to get those petals to have like a beveled edge. Okay, let's close that and get that out of our way. Now what I'm going to do is, using my bone folder, I'm going to put my thumb in the center and my first finger underneath this first petal, and I'm just going to curl it with my bone folder. I'm going to go to that next petal and I'm going right to the back part of it. Hopefully you can see that. And holding my thumb here, I'm just lightly pressing and pulling at the same time. Think of when we would curl ribbon, that crinkle ribbon for presents, but you use scissors for that. This, I'm using a bone folder. And then I'm just going to kind of press them up, because I kind of want to create like a little well here in the center. So I'm going to put some foam, which I need to find. There we go. I'm going to put a dimensional in the center. And I am using one because it's kind of big. And my favorite tool, take my pick tool. And then I will place my center over that. So now we have our beautiful sunflower, and we're going to set this aside. And I do need to clean my silicone mat real quick, just so we can get that ink off. Okie dokie. All right, let's kind of get ourselves situated. I am going to pull the base of the card, and that base of the card, I'm going to pull it right now to tell you the exact measurement. Okay, so it was 5.5 by 8.5, and then I scored at 1 3/4, 6, and 7 3/4. So it was 1 3/4, 6, and 7 3/4. Those were my score lines, and the entire card itself was 5.5 by 8.5. So I'll let that sit there for a second. I'm going to take this very first part, which is the 1 3/4 score line, and I'm going to fold that over. Using my bone folder, I'm going to give it a nice crispy edge. So if we look at our sample, here's that part right there. Now we're going to go to that 6-inch piece, and I'm going to fold it towards the left. So now what we have is something that's looking like a gatefold card. Now we're going to take this last little score line, which is roughly 3/4 of an inch, and we're going to fold that back on itself. And this is where you really want to make sure you have a good crispy edge. So this is what the base of the card looks like. And now we are going to do a few things. I'm going to take my 1/2 inch by 5 1/4. This is going to be adhered in this section. Let's do that first. Okay. Oops, those things are traveling with me here. Okay, and I'm going to set this, and I'm just going to center it within. I'm not going to squish it down all the way until I know I have it perfectly lined up. There we go. Now I'm going to take my 2 pieces that were 1 1/2 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to make sure that they're lining up here in the center, and these 2 will go on either edge of this panel. So let's get those put on next. Now if you prefer the other side and you want to flip them out, flip them around, totally fine. And again, I'm just going to center this within. And then I'm going to do the other panel. If you were on with me for Sunday Fun Day that we held on Monday, and you did this card, put it in the comments so that we know that others have tried this card out. I think it is an absolutely beautiful card. Okay, so this is what we have so far. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take the next part, which will be this piece, which measures 4 1/4 by 6, and it has 3 scored lines as well. We have a 1 1/2, a 3, and a 4 1/2. Now this, let me open this up. This is going to be this next mechanism. And so if we look, we can see it folds. It's got to tuck inside the card. And I will show you the one that we did on for Sunday Fun Day. I used different paper for that. Isn't that pretty? It's such pretty paper. Okay, so let me move this component, and we're going to fold each of these score lines and give them good crispy edges. There's the first one, the 1 1/2. Now I'm going to do the 3. And now I'm going to do the 4 1/2. So they're all kind of folding in on themselves. So it's almost starting to look like what we want it to look like. While it is flat, before putting it into our card, we are actually going to place our piece of paper that is 1 1/4 by, hold on, those are not inches, those are centimeters, by 4. So these 2 pieces are going to go right in the middle. These outer flaps, do not put anything there, because we will be putting our adhesive to stick into our card. And again, I'm going to make sure these line up. I mean, they're not going to be absolutely perfect because they do have that gap, but the pattern continues. I'm going to make sure I'm lining them up so that they're on the same line. Excellent. Now, using my score tape, or you could use tear and tape, whichever you prefer, or the red line tape, whatever's your fancy. We are going to make sure we put lots on these two outer panels, the right and the left. And I'm just going to use my tear and tape from Stampin' Up because it works. And I'm going to put approximately 3 strips. So I'm making sure that I have one closest to the score line and one closest to that outer edge. Now I'm going to do this left side. When we go to put this into the card itself, we're going to do one panel at a time. Okay, so let me just make sure we have these pressed down. And you can use your bone folder to do that, or your fingers. Okay, so let's move that out of our way. We are going to open up our card, and I'm going to start with this outer right panel. So I'm going to peel my backing off. And I'm just going to fold it back. And I want to place it close to the score line. I don't want to go over that score line. I'm going to go very, very close to it. And I am going to varnish with my fingers, or again, you could use your bone folder just to make sure that you have good contact. Okay. Next, we need this piece, and it's going to be here, but the easiest way to do that is we're going to allow it to kiss. So let's take our backing off from here. Okay, so I'm going to keep this folded, and I'm going to bring from the left, I'm bringing all of it over, and I'm just going to press. So now when I go to open my card, it is in there perfectly. Okay, so that's that part. See, I told you, this looks more complicated than what it really is. So next, what we want is we want the last of the white pieces that measures 2 by 3.5, and it is scored at 1/2. I'm sorry, let's go this way. 1/2, 2.5, and 3. Let's fold all of those and give them good crispy edges. Now, before we go putting it into our card, we need to decorate this because it's easier to decorate it here than once it's already inside our card. So you will need the panel that shows the 2 score lines, the 2.5 and the 3. You want that to be on this left side. And we want the 1/2 inch on the right-hand side. So I'm going to take my square that was 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. This is going to get placed within that square. Let's open up our sample so that we can see what it is. And it's that hooray. And I'm not using foam only because it is physically on the inside of the card. So I'm going to put this, I think I'm going to put it kind of like catty-wonky. I don't want it straight on. Now we're going to grab our tear and tape again, and we're going to put on the far right and the very, very far left. So the second score, nothing, and then we have that beautiful panel that we just decorated. So let's put our score tape there. And I do have a super skinny, so I think I'm gonna fill in the gap a little bit with my skinny one. Just so that I really have good coverage over this part. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to adhere this side. So now this side is going to need to lay within this panel. And this I think I am definitely going to need a little bit of help on peeling. There we go. And I'm just going to fold my card back just a hair, and I'm going to put this right on that panel, and I'm going right above, right along the edge. Press it hard so that we're burnishing it in. Now this part, we're going to kind of do what we just did on that kissing technique. I just want to double check myself that if we did that, because we want to be able to fold our card. And we don't want it, just give me a hot second here. Because I'm forgetting how we did it on Sunday. All right, so I'm going to peel these off. And we'll get it. We'll get it. Okay.
Trash up there?
Yes. There we go. So that's good. I will be right back. I have to empty trash. Okay, that should have given you all time to get caught up with me. All right, the next thing we need to do is we're going to build this panel. So when we close the card, this piece needs to be adhered only to that 1/2 inch. You don't want it on either edge. You only want it on this 1/2 inch piece, like that. So my suggestion to you would be put your adhesive here. Then place our panel over that. So now it opens the way it's supposed to. So let's grab our sunflower. And then we have our cute little sprigs. And then we would have our sentiment. So I'm going to start with my sprigs, I think. And I am going to use my Barely Art Glue. Okay, let's grab a pair of tweezers. It's a lot easier to work with tweezers. All right, so I'm gonna slide that in and press that down. And then we'll do the other one. And now I'm really gonna be careful because I know some of it's going to be coming off that edge. And I don't want adhesive there because then it's going to close my card completely. And I don't want to do that. So I'm going to put this one, I'm going to come down a little lower with it. I'm just hold it for a second. Fantastic. Okay, then I'm going to put my sunflower on, and I'm going to just kind of, yep, I like it right over there, and I am going to use this. Now for my sentiment, I do want it to go underneath that flower just a little. I just have to kind of position it right where I need it. So I am going to just put a little bit of adhesive here along that edge. I'm going to get that petal up. Okay, and we're going to just hold that there for a moment. And as usual, this video will be moved over to YouTube probably tomorrow or Saturday. And the reason it always gets moved to YouTube is because Facebook deletes any live video after 30 days. So if you by any chance did not finish your cards or you were unable to join us tonight, then you would have to go over to YouTube to find your cards. And if you were looking on Facebook and it's after the 30 days, guess what? They're gone. So I put the large one at the top, and I'm putting my two small ones on the little banner part that says happy birthday. Let's grab the little poker part. There we go, much better. And that is our first card, ladies. Isn't that cool? It's such a pretty card, and it wasn't difficult. But the recipient of your card is going to think, oh, wow, that's a hard card, you know? And it really wasn't. Here's just a different version of it. Lovely, huh? Okay, let's mosey on to the next one. All right, your next one in your pile should have cloud cover as our base of our card. The flowers on this one are snapdragons, and this was a set from a year ago. But I just thought, oh, they're so pretty. And the colors are Fresh Freesia and I believe Blackberry Bliss, I think. Let me look. Nope, Berry Burst. So Berry Burst, Fresh Freesia, and Shaded Spruce, which are all Stampin' Up colors. Okay, so for this card, this is the way it would open. So you need to be very mindful of where your adhesive is going. So I'm going to set that there. You are going to have 3 glitter gems. You are going to have the front panel along with a little strip of glitter and then another piece of cloud cover. You should have 2 pieces that have bows, and those are 1 1/4 by 4, 2 of those. You are going to have a piece of cloud cover that's 4 1/4 by 1 1/2. And then you're going to have your 4 by 5 1/4, and then you will have your card base. So let's fold this panel down first. Give it a good crispy edge. And we are going to put our sentiment inside right away. And I'm just going to center that in. Like so. And let's close our top. And now we are going to put our bow paper. I think I want this one. Yep, I want that one up there. I'm just going to center that. By having my inside panel already on, I can see that line going. So then I know I'm within my margin. Now I'm going to take this second smaller piece. I'm not gluing this. I'm going to gently place it at the bottom of my card. My bow paper, I am going to put adhesive on. And I want to center this within. So that's what I'm saying. Let's just be really careful. And we're going to center that. So now that I know this outer line is lining up there, this line is lining up here, perfect. And it's not glued down. I'm going to just keep it there and move my card up. We're going to work on this panel next. Why does this seem so much bigger? Because it is bigger. It's supposed to be a little bit smaller. All right, let's figure that out. So ladies, you might have to do a little trimming. Let's see. Yeah, it should be 4 inches. This should be 4 inches. So you will need to take 1/4 inch off. There we go. I cut 1/4 inch off. What we're going to do next is we're going to take that glitter paper and we're going to adhere that onto our white next before it goes on to that piece that we just trimmed down to 4 inch. It was 1/4 inch too big. Let's put that on here, and I'm just going to put it at the bottom. You can go all the way to the bottom. You can go closer to the happy birthday. We're celebrating my aunt's birthday next Saturday, and now I have a card to give to her. I'm ready to go. All right. Just that little bit of sparkle. Now we're going to put our adhesive, and as you clearly see, I screwed up here when I was stamping. So I was like, yep, that's not going to work. See, we all make mistakes, and that is why paper has two sides. So let's center that within our cloud cover. That's what this blue is, and it's kind of like a blue-gray. And it's not the same as Close to My Heart's Miss. Close to My Heart's Miss actually was a bit deeper and richer. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to place that bottom part here. I'm going to put this panel upside down so that I can see exactly where I need to put my adhesive. And I'm going to put a line of adhesive at the top. I'm going to kind of go over it a few times, and then I'm going to do the same thing down on the bottom. So I have my adhesive here and here, nothing in the middle, because if you put it there, you're going to close your card. So now, making sure that bottom panel does not move on me. Now I can place this on the right hand side, because basically you want to cover up the words that are on the inside of the card. So now I'm just going to give it a little bit of pressure, a little bit of adhesive there, and we're going to flip up to make sure we don't have any adhesive seeping out, and we don't. I'm just going to varnish it with my finger just so that that adhesive is getting good contact with my cardstock. And now I'm going to close it, and we're going to put our gems on now. I'm going to do my large gem towards the top, and then a small one next to it. Trying to get it off the carrier sheet. There we go. And then we will do the last little one above the Y and birthday. And that card is done. Isn't that amazing? This piece of paper was 4 1/4 by 11. So you would be cutting, you would score at 5 1/2, and then you would cut at 7. And then that's how we got the other two parts, would be from this panel that was left. So I'm able to get this piece and this piece all from that leftover. This was that center. Kind of cool, huh? So that's our second card. We're gonna mosey on to the third card. And this is our third card. This was, I think, the lavender paper. I think that's what, nope, that I think came from Celebratory Sips. And then these sprigs all came from either the lavender set or the Sips and Celebrate set. Okay, so let's get ourselves started. You will have your It's Your Day circle. You're going to have your glitter sprig. You might need to pop a few things out if they didn't fully pop out. And the easiest way to see what needs to be pop out is look on your back on the white side, because it's easier to see that than through the glitter. So you have a piece in glitter, you have that same one, and this paper here is called Blackberry Bliss. It is yummilish. And we are using this little drink glass as our vase. And then we have a beautiful sprig. And then we have 3 arches. And then we have our sentiment that says happy birthday. And then you have your card base. And your card base is 4 1/4 by 8. And it is scored at 4. So let's fold this in half. And we are going to put our sentiment on the inside first. Now yours should fit with a beautiful border all the way around. Mine's slightly smaller, and I'm okay with that, because it was what was left over, and I did not want to cut another piece of paper for that fuller size. So now I'm going to close this, and I'm going to build my 3 arches next. And I like to build where this is my bottom, my fresh freesia is going to go over that, which is kind of like that purpley pink. Maybe you prefer to build smallest to medium, medium to large. And I'm going to center this within the arch. Now these arches are the Stampin' Up arches, which are fantastic. And now we're going to put our floral one. And again, if you prefer the other side, please go right ahead. This is your card. The recipients do not see the original. So I'm going to center this just like that. Now I am going to put foam on the back of both of these, and I'm going to actually use foam tape. And I'm not peeling my backing off because I need to first get my sprigs adhered here to my arch. So I'm going to place my vase right at the edge of that stitching. And then the It's Your Day, I need adhesive, the foam tape basically, only on the half on the right hand side. And I like to work upside down for that. And then I am going to do a little bit of regular adhesive, because these will overlap each other. And again, I didn't peel anything off because I want to first get my sprigs tucked in. All right, so before we do that, we're actually going to put this onto our base. So for this, what we need to do is you need to be careful so that your card is not any bigger, or taller, I should say, than 5 1/2. Because if you go up to here, now I'm at 6 inches and it's not going to fit in your envelope. So here's my 5 1/2 inch line. I need to bring this down to at least that, if not a little bit lower. So I'm going to put my adhesive on my base. I can always come back in and add a little bit more if I needed to. So I'm going to keep it here. Look for my 5 1/2, which is right. I'm going to put something on it so that I know not to go past. It's that line right there. Now I'm going to center my arch. And I really don't want it any too tall. So I have approximately between 1/4 and 1/2 of an inch at the bottom. And I think I'm going to bring it down just a hair bit more. I'm going to bring it down just a tiny bit more. So that's more like 1/4 of an inch from the bottom. Now I know for a fact that this will fit into my card envelope. Okay, let's just place our vase on, and we're going to start with the fun sprig, and that's what's going to come sticking out. So again, I want to make sure I'm only putting adhesive on this bottom portion. I don't want any at that top because it is a little freer at the top. Let's grab our tweezers. So now I'm going to slide my sprig in. And I'm going to hold it just so that my glue gets good contact with the cardstock. Okay, let's put our vase back where it belongs. And now I'm going to put the Blackberry Bliss flowers. Now this, I can actually do all of them, and I'm just putting dots of the adhesive. Now our Sunday Fun Day for this week on Easter is a scrapbook page. I hope you will join me for that class. Okay. I'm going to tuck my Blackberry Bliss one in. Like so. With being off this whole week for spring break, I was able to design all of our Sunday Fun Days for April, May, and June. So there are some good classes coming. And now we're going to do the same thing with our glitter one. And remember, Sunday Fun Days are free to join. They are there for you to gain the knowledge on card making, scrapbooking, and other paper crafting projects. Okay, this I want to center between the sprig and the Blackberry Bliss flowers. So I know it's going to go about there. So you can share the Facebook group or the YouTube channel with your family and friends. We are up to 80 followers on YouTube. And the Facebook group, I think we're at 290, 291, 92, something like that. If more people don't join the Sunday Fun Days, I may have to just discontinue those or not do them live. There is a lot of work behind those. There's a lot of work on the designing of each of them per week, photographing them, getting things posted with the not the directions, but the cutting so that you know what to cut at the proper sizes. and then the actual live class. And then it's the whole upload, download, and all of that jazz too. So I don't know. And that is our third card. Isn't that a pretty card? Maybe that one's my aunt's card. Or maybe that one's my mom's card. I don't know. Okay. Well, let's set it aside. And we are on to our last card for the evening. And this is what that one looks like. So you will have a piece of ribbon, and I did try to cut it a little bit longer than what you're going to actually need. You have some real pretty faceted gems. You have a little rose or peony that we will need to color here in a moment. You will have a Let's Celebrate followed by a pink piece of cardstock that will actually get centered on. And then you will have 4 squares, and these squares are 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. Now they are the same paper front and back, so you can look at them and go, oh, I prefer having more of this color versus this color. So you just need to have 2 of the floral, 2 of the polka dot. We will have a piece of sorbet, and then our card base. So I'm going to fold our card base. Now you can ink the edges if you want, and I would say ink them in heather or mink or basic gray, a soft gray, okay? So I'm going to put this piece on next, and I am using, let's see, which side do I want? I'm going to go with the darker side out, and I'm going to put my adhesive on the light side. Maybe you prefer to have the light side up and the dark side down. That's your choice. And this is 4 by 5 1/4, so it should center in rather nicely. Let's bring in our white. And that piece is 1 1/4 by 4. And we are going to center it on the dark of the pink, which is 4 1/4 by probably 1 1/2 is going to be my guess. Perfect. Now we're going to take this ribbon. Now, what I like to do is I like to put a little bit of adhesive on the back, so it's not going to slide around on me. I'm going to put my ribbon so that it's extended out, and I'm going to place this pink piece centered the best that I can over it. Okay, that's why if you put that little bit of adhesive on the back, it's going to help stick there for you. Now we're just going to tie this ribbon into a knot. A bow would be just far too difficult. And this extra part here is right where our flower is going to go. It's going to tuck in there. So you might want to trim your ribbon tails so that they're shorter. Like so. Okay. Now, we're not ready to put this on because we actually have to put our squares on. So I'm going to look to see how I want these. And I'm going to dry fit things on first before I go gluing. Once you have those the way you like them, I want to say that's going to get foamed. Is it? Yes. So we are going to put foam tape on the back of this piece, and that's what's going to lay here in the center. So I'm going to do that now. But I'm just not going to peel my backing off quite yet. Okay, I think I like my squares where they are, and I'm going to do one at a time. So I'm going to put one there, and now I need to do a floral one here. Before I do that, I want to see what this one, yeah. Yep, I picked good ones. Okay. Now I'm going to go above, and it doesn't matter the order that you put yours in. Maybe you wanted polka dot in this corner and then floral. It's completely up to you. Or maybe you're like, I want all polka dots, or I want all floral. And you just kind of want to make sure your lines are lining up. I'm going to do the last one. Right there. Nice. And now we can put our greeting onto the front of our card. And this should go edge to edge, and it is going to cover up a little bit of those squares, which is a-okay. Okay, we're going to put that on. Now we just need to quickly color our flower. And I am going to use Antique Pink from Spectrum Noir, and I'm going to use the medium shade. Actually, I'm going to start with the light shade. Let's start with light. Light might be too light, but no, it's not. This must be a new marker, because my other one was running out. And we are just coloring right over that gray. Yeah, I think these are peonies. Nothing like a fresh marker. Ooh, lovely. Now I'm going to go over with my medium some of these lines. Just so that we have a little dimension to it. Beautiful. And I am going to bring in light green, which is the name of it, and I'm going to use the light for my leaf. And I believe I am going to do like the stems of the leaves. Now I'm going to go in with my medium. Just to give it some highlights. And there we go. And let's see if that is popped. And that is popped as well. So let's put a little bit of foam on the back of that. Excuse me. Okay, let's take the foam backing off. And we're going to take the stem area and we're going to tuck underneath the bow. Just like so. And now we just have our dots to put on. And I am going to take the largest one and I'm going to go diagonal to the C of celebrate. And then I'm going to do a small one. And I'm going to follow that diagonal line and go under, kind of like the E, or between the C and the E, I think. Just like that. And then my last one I'm going to actually put on. So remember, you want to create a triangle. I'm going to go right there on that blue. Okay. And that is our 4th card right there. Now let me show you what's coming next month. Next month for May, we have Thinking of You cards. So we will be doing this card here, and it will pull out like that. We have this fun one that has that cute little clip. Here is another kind of a fancy fold card. And then we have this beautiful one that has some embossing on it. So that is May, and it's Thinking of Yous. And then June will be Thank Yous. So our June cards, we will be creating this card here. And we will be creating this card. Look at how pretty this is. And then you open it like that. And then we have this gorgeous one that has so much texture to it. And it will flip up. And then we have this fun bright card, and it is another one that will open up. So I have not posted this one yet. This one will be getting posted soon, but join me for class. And I hope you all have a very happy Easter, and I hope to see some of you for Sunday Fun Day on Sunday at 7 o'clock Easter evening. All right, have a great rest of your week. Good night.